In the rich cultural heritage of Africa, where education is highly valued and considered a key to unlocking one's potential, the Johnson family was no exception. Emmanuel's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, were both products of the rigorous African education system, which emphasizes hard work, discipline, and academic excellence. They had instilled these values in their children, and as a result, their eldest 3 children had grown up to become high-achieving professionals in their respective fields. Emmanuel's eldest sister, Rachel, was a brilliant medical doctor who had graduated at the top of her class from one of the most prestigious medical schools in the country. His brother, Michael, was a successful engineer who had designed and built several iconic buildings in the city. And his second sister, Hannah, was a talented lawyer who had argued and won several high-profile cases in court. But Emmanuel, the youngest of the 4 siblings, was a different story altogether. While his siblings had always been academic stars, Emmanuel struggled in school, finding it difficult to grasp concepts in mathematics and science. His parents always comparing him to his elder siblings, he couldn't help feeling like he was living in the shadow of his high-achieving siblings. Despite his struggles in academics, Emmanuel excelled in extracurricular activities. He was an excellent athlete, a skilled musician, and a talented artist. However, his parents and siblings didn't place much value on these skills, as they believed that academics were more important. One day, Emmanuel's headmistress, Mrs. Smith, called him to her office. She looked at him with a mixture of disappointment and frustration. "Emmanuel, I don't know what to do with you," she said. "You're not performing well in class, and you seem to be struggling with even the simplest concepts. I think it's time for you to face the reality that you're just not cut out for academics. I am not sure you'll be cut out for anything notable either." Emmanuel felt a sting from Mrs. Smith's words. He had never felt so belittled and unvalued in his life. He walked out of her office feeling defeated and demotivated. But as he walked back to his classroom, something inside of him sparked. He realized that Mrs. Smith's words were not a prophecy, but a challenge. From that day on, Emmanuel made a conscious decision to prove Mrs. Smith wrong. He began to work harder than ever before, seeking help from his teachers and siblings, and spending extra hours studying. He also continued to excel in his extracurricular activities, using them as a way to express himself and build his confidence. As the months went by, Emmanuel started to notice a change in himself. He was understanding concepts more clearly, and his grades were starting to improve. He was also becoming more confident in himself, and his passion for learning was growing. When Emmanuel graduated from high school, he was the youngest graduate in his family. He had worked hard to achieve his goal, and he felt an overwhelming sense of pride and accomplishment. He went on to attend university, where he studied fine arts and graduated with a first-class honors degree. After university, Emmanuel traveled the world, teaching and helping others overcome their limitations. He became a beacon of hope to many, showing them that with hard work and determination, anything is possible. Emmanuel never forgot the words of Mrs. Smith, but he used them as a reminder of how far he had come. He realized that her words were not a curse, but a blessing in disguise. They had sparked something inside of him, and had driven him to achieve greatness. Years later, Emmanuel returned to his alma mater to give a speech to the students. As he stood on the stage, looking out at the sea of faces, he saw Mrs. Smith sitting in the front row. He smiled, remembering the impact she had had on his life. As Emmanuel stood before the audience, his eyes locked onto Mrs. Smith, the woman whose words had once pierced his heart like a dagger. But now, as he gazed at her, he felt a deep sense of gratitude and vindication. With a voice trembling with emotion, he spoke the words that would change the trajectory of his life forever. "Thank you, Mrs. Smith," he said, his voice filled with a mix of sadness and triumph. "Your words, though meant to crush my spirit, ended up being the spark that ignited a fire within me. They fueled my determination to prove you wrong, to rise above the doubts and fears that you had instilled in me." As Emmanuel finished his speech, the audience erupted in applause. Mrs. Smith stood up, a smile on her face, and applauded along with the rest. Emmanuel had finally proven her wrong, and he had done it with style and grace. Emmanuel's story spread like wildfire, inspiring countless people around the world. He became a motivational speaker, traveling the globe to share his message of hope and perseverance. And every time he stepped onto a stage, he remembered the words of Mrs. Smith and the spark they had ignited within him. He knew that he owed his success to her, and he was forever grateful. As Emmanuel continued to inspire others with his story, he never forgot the struggles he had faced. He knew that he had been given a second chance, and he was determined to make the most of it. Emmanuel's journey had not been easy, but it had been worth it. He had proven to himself and to others that he was capable of greatness, and he had inspired countless people to do the same. Years later, Emmanuel's story was still inspiring people around the world. He had become a legend in his own right, a symbol of hope and perseverance in the face of adversity. And as he looked out at the sea of faces, he knew that his story would continue to inspire others for generations to come. As we conclude this inspiring story, we would like to offer a poignant reminder to parents, guardians, educators, and caregivers. The words we speak to children and others have a profound impact on their lives, shaping their self-perception, confidence, and future trajectory. It is essential to exercise thoughtfulness and empathy in our communication, recognizing that not everyone possesses the resilience to transform hurtful words into positive motivation. Let us strive to create a supportive environment where our words uplift, encourage, and inspire others to reach their full potential. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed and learned from the video. We would love to hear from you. Your feedback means a lot to us. Want to be the first to know when a new videos drop? Subscribe now and hit that notification bell to stay updated. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family. Until we come your way again, wishing you a day as bright as your smile.